Once upon a time, there was an old man who lived in the mountains. He made a living by cutting bamboo in the mountains and fields. He used bamboo for all sorts of things. The old man's name was Sanuki. One day, while he was cutting bamboo, he found a single bamboo stalk that was glowing. "This is strange," he thought, and as he approached the bamboo, he saw that it was glowing from within. Looking inside, he saw a very beautiful little girl about 3 centimeters tall sitting there. The old man said, "I look at the bamboo every morning and evening. This child must have come to us. She must be our child." Saying this, the old man gently took the child in his hands and brought her home. He then entrusted the child to his wife, the old woman, and decided to raise her with care. The child was very beautiful and adorable, so the old woman placed her in a small basket and raised her with great care. After grandfathering the child, every time he cut the bamboo, money mysteriously began to appear from inside it. Thanks to this, the old man's house gradually became wealthy. The child grew up healthily. After about 3 months, she had grown so much that she looked like a proper adult. Grandfather and his wife held a hair dyeing ceremony and dressed the child in adult attire to celebrate. From then on, they kept the child hidden inside the house and raised him with great care. The child's face was so beautiful it seemed otherworldly. The house was always bright, as if filled with light. Even when grandfather was feeling unwell, seeing the child's face would restore his energy. His irritable mood would also calm down. Grandfather became skilled at cutting bamboo and grew into a strong and respectable man. The child also grew larger and larger. So, grandfather called Akita-san and asked him to name the child. Akita-san named the child Kaguya. After giving her the name, grandfather's family held a 3-day celebration. They had many games and performances, invited both men and women, and celebrated joyfully and lively. The rumor that Princess Kaguya was extremely beautiful spread in no time. Rich people, important people, and ordinary people alike all began to think, "I must find a way to meet Princess Kaguya and I want to marry her." Many people gathered near the house where Princess Kaguya lived. They stayed up all night, wandering around the house even in the pitch dark, and some even tried to peek inside through the cracks. However, no matter how much they begged, Princess Kaguya would not see anyone. Even when they spoke to the people of the house, they did not receive a reply. Still, those who could not give up came every day and waited in front of the house from morning till night. Some people thought, "This is pointless. Let's give up and stop coming." However, 5 noble men did not give up. The 5 were Stone Prince, Carriage Prince, Abe the Right Minister, Otomo the Grand Counselor, Iso the Middle Counselor. These 5 men were so captivated by Princess Kaguya's beauty that they couldn't eat. They wrote letters to her, but she never replied. They sent poems, but she did not respond. Despite this, the 5 men continued to visit Princess Kaguya's house every day, regardless of the cold winters or hot summers. One day, one of the 5 men knelt down before grandfather and pleaded, "Please let me marry Kaguya." Grandfather said, "This child is not my biological daughter, so I cannot decide on my own." Despite this, the 5 men did not give up. They returned home and prayed at the temple, making wishes. Grandfather grew increasingly worried and told Princess Kaguya, "Kaguya, you are a person with special powers, but I have raised you as my own daughter. I am now over 70 years old and do not know how much longer I have to live. People usually marry, have children, and form families. Perhaps it's time for you to meet someone as well." Princess Kaguya replied, "I was raised as your daughter. I consider you my real father. So I will obey your wishes." Grandfather was overjoyed. "Thank you for saying that. It would be pitiful for you to remain unmarried. Go meet each of the 5 men who have waited for you all this time." But Princess Kaguya thought for a moment and said, "I don't know how seriously the 5 men feel about me. They might have fallen in love with me just because of my appearance, or they might change their minds quickly. So, I want to choose the person who brought me the item I requested as the strongest-hearted one." Grandfather was surprised but thought it was a good idea and told the 5 men. Princess Kaguya told each of the 5 men. To the stone prince she said, "Please bring me a stone bowl said to be from the land of Buddha." To the carriage prince she said, "Please bring me a branch from the tree of Mount Aurao in the eastern sea. That tree has silver roots, gold stems, and white jewel-like fruits." To Abe the right minister she said, "Please bring me a coat made from the skin of a fire rat that is said to live in China." To Otomo the grand counselor she said, "Please bring me the 5-colored jewel that shines on the neck of a dragon." To Iso the middle counselor she said, "Please bring me one of the child-safe shells found in a swallow's nest." Grandfather said, "These are very difficult requests. These are things that don't exist in this country." But Princess Kaguya smiled and replied, "Is it really that difficult? If you truly care about me, I'm sure you can bring them." Grandfather said, "All right, I'll tell them," and relayed the requests to the 5 men. The 5 men were surprised, saying, "We didn't think you'd ask for such difficult things." But after hearing each request, they reluctantly returned home. Stone Prince could not forget Princess Kaguya. He even thought, "If I cannot see Kaguya Heim, there is no meaning in living." He thought, "No one can bring a stone bowl from Buddha in India. But if that is what Kaguya Heim wants, I will do whatever it takes to pretend I brought it." Stone Prince was very intelligent and good at making plans. He told Princess Kaguya, "Starting today, I will go to India and search for a stone bowl." Then, he disappeared for 3 years. But in reality, he stayed in Japan and went to a temple in a place called Tochi in Nara Prefecture. There, he found an old, sooty black bowl that belonged to one of Buddha's disciples. Stone Prince secretly took the pot, put it in a beautiful cloth bag, decorated it with flower branches, and brought it to Princess Kaguya's house. Princess Kaguya was surprised. "Is this real?" she wondered, and looked inside the pot. There was a letter inside. The letter contained the following poem: "I searched with all my heart, crossing in pains and seas. This stone pot holds my tears." However, Princess Kaguya took the pot in her hands and said, "It doesn't glow. I thought it might at least shine like a firefly." She then composed a reply poem, "Not even the light of dew can be seen. Did you go all the way to Ogura Mountain for this?" Princess Kaguya threw the pot outside the gate and did not send a reply. Stone Prince was deeply disappointed, unable to receive a reply from Princess Kaguya, and returned home dejected. At that moment, he recited another poem: "If I were to meet you, who are like a white mountain, perhaps the light of the bowl would fade away. Even if I had discarded the bowl, I wanted to believe in you." However, Princess Kaguya did not respond to this poem either. No matter how he spoke to her, she would not listen. Stone Prince returned home with a heavy heart, his feelings unreciprocated. Carriage Prince couldn't give up on Princess Kaguya. "I can't find the real Mount Aurao, but maybe I can get her if I trick her," he thought. So the prince told his servant, "I'm going to Kyushu to rest," and told Princess Kaguya, "The prince has set out to find the branch of jade said to be on Mount Horai in the east." After leaving under the pretense of a journey, the prince built a secret house surrounded by 3 walls in a secluded location. There, he gathered 6 craftsmen and had them create a branch adorned with gold, silver, and jewels exactly as Princess Kaguya had desired. It was exquisitely crafted and beautiful. The prince placed it in a beautiful box, pretended to have returned from his journey, and returned to the capital. He then pretended to be weak and lay down on the bed, saying, "This is the branch of jade I risked my life to find," and showed it to Princess Kaguya. Attached to the branch was this poem: "I risked my life to find this. If I couldn't obtain it, I had no intention of returning alive." Princess Kaguya was moved by its beauty. This might really be a branch from Mount Horai, she thought, moved to tears. But just then, a man arrived at Princess Kaguya's house with a letter. The man said, "We are the craftsmen who made this jade branch. We worked hard for over 1,000 days to make it for the prince. But we haven't been paid yet. Please give us our wages." This revealed the prince's lie. Princess Kaguya was shocked. "I thought it was real, but how could you tell such an obvious lie?" She returned the poem and the jade branch. "I thought it was real, but when I looked closely, it was just a fake branch decorated with words." The prince's face turned bright red, and he left the house in embarrassment. Later, Princess Kaguya thanked the craftsmen who made the jade branch and gave them many gifts. However, the angry prince attacked the craftsmen on his way home, took back the gifts they had given him, and the craftsmen fled for their lives. The prince then said, "Not only was I rejected by a woman, but I was also mocked by the entire realm. There is no greater shame than this." And so, he retreated alone into the depths of the mountains. He never saw anyone again, and no one knows what became of him. Abe the Right Minister was a wealthy and powerful minister who lived in a large house. He could not give up his desire to marry Princess Kaguya, so he wrote a letter to a man named Aokai who lived overseas. The letter read as follows: "I have heard that there is a garment made from the skin of a fire rat. Please purchase it and send it to me." Abe the Right Minister selected a trustworthy servant from among his retainers, named him Ono, and sent him to China with the letter and money. The reply from Aokai read as follows: "I have never seen a fire rat skin garment in China. It exists in old tales, but I do not know if it is real. However, if I find one, I will purchase it and send it to you. If I cannot find one, I will return the money." Eventually, the ship returned from China, and Ono came back. Abe the Right Minister went to greet him joyfully and saw the box containing the fire rat skin garment. The box was beautifully decorated, and the garment was blue with a golden sheen, very beautiful. The letter read, "This garment was brought here long ago by a wise monk from India. I heard it was at a temple in the western mountains and bought it. It is a very rare item, so the price is 50 gold coins. If you do not like it, please return the clothes." Abe the Right Minister was overjoyed and bowed his hands toward China. "This must be the treasure that Kaguya Hime desired," he thought to himself. Abe the Right Minister placed the clothes in a box, decorated it with beautiful branches, and visited Princess Kaguya's house dressed as if he had just returned from a journey. A poem was also included. "This garment, which burns my heart with endless longing, I wish you would wear today." Princess Kaguya looked at the garment and said, "It's a very beautiful garment. But I don't know if it's real." Grandfather said, "This is a very rare garment. Whether it's real or not, please accept it first." It would be a pity for Abe the Right Minister. Then he invited Abe the Right Minister into the house. Grandfather thought, "Perhaps this time we can finally marry." But Princess Kaguya said, "If this garment doesn't burn when put into the fire, then it must be genuine. May I try?" Grandfather thought, "That's a fair test," and told Abe the Right Minister. Abe the Right Minister said, "This is a rare item that can't even be found in China. But if you must doubt it, please feel free to test it by putting it in the fire." So, they put the clothes in the fire, and they burned fiercely. Princess Kaguya, though surprised, said, "It was fake after all," and returned the poem. If it burns so easily, I shouldn't have hoped for anything in the first place. Abe the right minister was shocked and returned home. Otomo the Grand Counselor gathered many of his retainers and said, "It is said that there is a jewel that shines in 5 colors on the head of a dragon. Whoever brings it to me will have any wish granted." The retainers replied, "Your words are most gracious, but such a jewel is not something that can be easily obtained. Besides, it is said to be on the head of a dragon. How are we supposed to get it?" However, the Grand Counselor grew angry and said, "You are my vassals. You must fulfill my orders, even at the cost of your lives. This jewel is not from a foreign land. Dragons rise and descend from the mountains and seas of this country. Therefore, it must be somewhere in Japan." The vassals reluctantly replied, "And we will go and search as you command." Thus, the Grand Counselor ordered his retainers to take money, cloth, food, and other items from his house and go in search of the jewel. "If you cannot bring back the jewel, do not return home," he said. However, the retainers thought to themselves, "Why would he order us to do such a ridiculous thing?" Eventually, some of the retainers ran away with the money and goods and hid, while others went off to play wherever they pleased. Meanwhile, the Grand Counselor began building a magnificent house, saying, "It is to welcome Kaguya home." The roof was decorated with colorful threads, and the interior was filled with gold and silver ornaments and luxurious fabrics. Even his former wives left him, but the Grand Counselor was satisfied, saying, "It's okay because I'm going to marry Kaguya home." When his retainers did not return, the Grand Counselor finally decided to go in search of the dragon's jewel himself. "With the power of my bow, I can defeat a dragon with a single blow," he said confidently, and set out to sea with 2 retainers. But one day, the weather suddenly turned bad, and a fierce storm came. The wind was strong, lightning flashed, and the ship seemed about to sink into the sea. The ship's oarsman cried out, "I've never seen such a storm. This might be the dragon's anger. The gods are angry because the Grand Counselor tried to kill the dragon. Please apologize quickly." The Grand Counselor panicked and said, "I'm truly sorry. I won't do anything add to the dragon anymore. I won't even touch a single hair. Please save us." After praying to the gods repeatedly, the storm gradually subsided. A few days later, the Grand Counselor's ship was carried by the wind and arrived at Akashi. The Grand Counselor was exhausted and collapsed. When people rushed to help him off the ship, they saw that his face was swollen like to plums, and his stomach was bloated. Those who saw him couldn't help but laugh. Then, the retainers who had left and gone missing returned. "We couldn't find the jewel, so we couldn't return to the mansion," they apologized. The Grand Counselor, angered, replied, "Well, it was actually for the best that you couldn't retrieve the jewel. If you had truly taken the dragon's jewel, I would have certainly lost my life. I will never approach Kaguya home again. And do not come near my house either." Saying this, he distributed the remaining items in the house among his retainers and drove them out. The once magnificent house now stands abandoned, having become a nest for birds. Iso the Middle Counselor said to his retainers, "If you find a swallow building a nest, let me know." The retainers asked, "Why?" The Middle Counselor replied, "I want to obtain the child shell that Kaguya hime mentioned, which is said to be inside a swallow's nest." But the retainers said, "We have seen many swallows, but we have never seen a child shell inside one. Besides, they fly away as soon as they sense a human presence." Someone suggested, "There are many swallows nesting on the roof of the building where the government's rice is cooked. If we send someone skilled up there to watch, we might be able to get it." The Middle Counselor heard this and was very pleased. "That's an interesting idea. let's try it right away." The middle counselor sent 20 men up to the attic of the building to observe the swallows. However, there were so many people that the swallows wouldn't come near them. When the middle counselor heard this, he was disappointed and wondered what to do. Just then, an old man from the government office named Kuratsu came and said, "That won't work. With so many people around, the swallows will be scared and won't come back to their nests." He then proposed, "Let's break the boards in the attic, put one person in a cage, and hang it up there. Then, wait quietly for the swallows to come, and when they lay their eggs, have someone take the eggs." The middle counselor was delighted and immediately sent the men away. He went to the site himself to observe the situation. Kuratsu explained further, when swallows lay eggs, they raise their tails and circle 7 times before dropping them. If you watch for that moment and quickly reach out your hand, you might be able to catch the child shell. The middle counselor was very pleased with this idea and rewarded Kuratsu generously. One day, a swallow really came to the nest, raised its tail, and began to circle around. So, they put a man in a basket, hoisted him up, and had him search inside the nest. However, he reported, "There's nothing there." The middle counselor angrily said, "You're no good. I'll do it myself." He climbed into the basket, had himself hoisted up to the attic, reached out his hand, and felt something. "I've got it. It must be the child's shell. Lower me down quickly," he shouted. But suddenly, the rope snapped, and the middle counselor fell backward onto the edge of an iron pot below. People rushed over, gave him water to drink, and managed to revive him. "Show us what you're holding," the retainers demanded. When he opened his hands, what was there was not the child's shell, but an old swallow's droppings. The middle counselor said, "What a foolish thing to do." The middle counselor was left unable to move due to his injuries. Though it was a humorous failure, the fact that people were talking about it was more embarrassing than anything else. Upon hearing this, Princess Kaguya sent a poem. "For many years, the sea at Sumishio has been calm. Is it true that no messenger has come?" Upon reading this, the middle counselor, trembling in his sickbed, wrote a reply. As he finished writing, he lost his strength and passed away. Princess Kaguya heard this and felt a little sad. The emperor heard rumors that Princess Kaguya was exceptionally beautiful and became curious. He ordered Fusa, a lady-in-waiting who served in the palace, to investigate. "There is a girl named Kaguya Hime who is said to be captivating men. I want you to go and see what kind of woman she is." Fusa obeyed the order and visited the home of the old man who lived in the bamboo grove. She greeted him politely and said, "I have come on the emperor's orders to see Kaguya Hime." The woman of the house then told Princess Kaguya, "The emperor's messenger has arrived. Please show him your face." However, Princess Kaguya refused, saying, "I am not beautiful. Why must I show my face to others?" The woman tried to persuade her, saying, "We cannot ignore the emperor's messenger." But Princess Kaguya replied, "I have no desire to serve the emperor. If you force me to serve him, I will vanish from this world." She refused to show her face. Fusa returned reluctantly and reported this to the emperor. The emperor said, "So this was the heart that led her to toy with so many men," and temporarily gave up. However, the emperor could not shake his curiosity. He thought, "The old man's house is near the mountain. I will pretend to go hunting and sneak a peek." The emperor took his attendants and went hunting in the mountains, stopping by the old man's house. There sat a woman who was truly radiantly beautiful. The emperor thought, "This must be her," and tried to approach her. However, Princess Kaguya fled into the depths of the house. When the emperor grabbed her sleeve, Princess Kaguya hid her face. The emperor said, "I will take you back with me." But Princess Kaguya firmly refused, saying, "I am not a person of this country. I cannot serve the emperor." The emperor said, "Why do you say such a thing? I must take you with me," and had a carriage brought to the house. But Princess Kaguya suddenly vanished from the spot. She disappeared as swiftly as a shadow. The emperor was astonished and thought, "This woman is not an ordinary human being after all. Then I will not take you. Just show me your beautiful form once more." At his request, Princess Kaguya returned to her original form. The emperor was even more captivated by her beauty. He wanted to keep her with him and return home together, but it was not to be, and he returned to the palace with a heavy heart. As he departed, the emperor composed a poem. The pain of leaving and the lingering sorrow are all because of Kaguya Hime. In response, Princess Kaguya also recited a poem. "For me, who has spent many quiet years, a place as dazzling as the palace holds no meaning." The emperor read this poem and felt even more drawn to Princess Kaguya. From then on, he sent her letters every day, received replies, and continued exchanging poems with flowers and grasses attached. Princess Kaguya also wrote a reply. The two communicated their feelings through songs and letters. And then, one spring day about 3 years later, Princess Kaguya was looking at the moon and shedding tears. Every night, she would look at the moon and cry, as if remembering something. By July, Princess Kaguya seemed even sadder. The people around her were worried and asked her, "What's wrong?" But she wouldn't say anything. On August 15th, on a particularly beautiful night when the moon was shining brightly, Princess Kaguya finally spoke through her tears. "I am from the Moon Palace. I came to Earth temporarily due to an ancient promise. However, the time of that promise has come to an end. Soon, someone will come to take me back to the moon, and I must return." Grandfather, who had raised her, was shocked and said, "I can't believe that. I raised you from when you were a baby. Why must you return to the moon?" Princess Kaguya replied, "I to find it painful to part with my family on Earth. But there is nothing I can do about it." The emperor heard this and sent a large number of soldiers to protect Princess Kaguya. Soldiers surrounded the house to prevent the moon's messengers from coming from the sky. However, on the night of August 15, the sky brightened, and people from the moon's capital arrived on clouds. The soldiers were overwhelmed by the light and could do nothing. The moon's messenger said Kaguya Hime came to Earth temporarily to atone for her sins. Now, her time has come to an end. We have come to take her back. Princess Kaguya wrote a farewell letter to grandfather and put on the heavenly robe. As she put on the robe, all the sadness and memories of her time on Earth vanished. Then, Princess Kaguya rode the clouds back to the Moon Palace. The emperor, upon seeing the letter and the elixir of immortality left by Princess Kaguya, was deeply saddened. "If drinking this won't allow me to meet Kaguya Hime again, then I don't want the elixir," he thought, and ordered that the elixir and the letter be burned at the summit of Mount Fuji. Since then, that mountain has been called Fuji, and it is said that smoke still rises into the sky to this day.